Hello, welcome to a new interview from the Cloud Report. I'm Friederike Zelke, Editor-in-Chief, and today I have the honor to talk with Dr. Bela Waldhauser, CEO from Telehaus and representative of the Alliance to Strengthening Digital Infrastructure in Germany. Very welcome. Please tell me something more about you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Zelke. I'm more than 20 years now in the data center business. Before my present position, I was managing director for Telecity, which is part of Equinix now, and managing director for Global Switch. So I'm one of the veterans in that industry. And besides what you've just mentioned, I'm in the ECO community. ECO is the internet community with more than 1,000 members. And I'm heading the competence group for data center infrastructure for more than 10 years.
Cool. So you are an expert in digital infrastructure and data center in Germany or Europe?
I hope so.
Very well. Today I want to talk about sustainability and the connection or the relation between sustainability and digitization. How sustainable is digitization?
Digitalization is very sustainable. I mean, everybody's talking about the huge power consumption we have as an industry, but these people forget, first of all, how much the so-called old economy is consuming. And second, everybody is using digital infrastructures like the smartphones, which we have now for 14 years or so, including tablets, and the pandemic situation showed us tremendously how important digital infrastructure is, because without that, we wouldn't be able to do homeschooling, home office, the interview we are doing now online. All of that would not be possible. So I would say 15 years ago, the influence of that pandemic situation would be much, much worse than now.
I agree.
And there's an interesting study from the University of Freiburg. They've calculated that having a conference online saves more than 99% of CO2 emissions. So this is just a very simple example how sustainable a CO2 emission is. On the other hand, I've just mentioned that I'm more than 20 years in that industry now. And honestly speaking, 20 years ago, the emissions have per power much, much higher. So our efficiency of a data center increased substantially in the past 20 years. And every new modern data center consumes only roughly 25% for cooling, climatization, power supply, and 75% of that is used by our customers, which means IT, hardware, software, telecommunications equipment.
So digitization is doing a lot for our sustainability or energy sustainability, but how do they correspond? Maybe you can talk about examples or what is already done in this sector?
As just said, we have done a lot of steps toward much more efficient data centers. Then there are several analyses by Borderstep Institute that the number of data centers, the total number of data centers in Germany is decreasing slightly, which may be surprising. However, a lot of the small data centers are vanishing and they are going into the cloud. And the cloud providers, the hyperscalers, they have a very efficient system. So the servers are highly virtualized. That means on one single server, you have several applications, which was not true some years ago. So this is one part of the story. The other part is what I've just mentioned, that home office homeschooling is saving a lot of CO2 emissions. Just in the pandemic situation last year, the CO2 emissions in Germany decreased by 16%, 1/6. which is another good example, plus all what is coming now: smart home, smart city, smart factory, 5G, connected cars, autonomous driving, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things. All of that can save a lot of energy, of CO2 emissions. Smart grids is a very good example. There are several investigations that if we manage our network grids, our power grids more efficiently, we can save a lot of power, energy, CO2 emissions. The same is true for smart farming. It's not only vertical farming, but smart farming. If you do that more clever, you save a lot of CO2 emissions. Plus smart factory, industry 4.0 can save a lot of CO2 emissions. Smart city, which I've just mentioned a minute ago. I mean, you and I know how difficult it is sometimes to drive with your car from A to B, because there's so much traffic. If you can manage that traffic more efficiently, that would save a lot of CO2 emissions. And last but not least, a lot of the energy in Germany is used for heat production. And we can use the waste heat of data centers for residential apartments, for offices. So I've signed a contract with Mainova, which is the local power supplier or energy supplier in Frankfurt. And they have signed a contract with Instone, that's a construction company. They are just building opposite our data center 1,300 residential apartments. And the heat will be provided from our data center. That's by far the largest project in Germany, but I hope we will see more of that.
Sounds great. And I've heard that Telehaus itself is a sustainable or energy efficient project. Is that right?
Honestly speaking, our old data centers are not so energy efficient. In our industry, we are talking about a PUE, which is the ratio of the total power consumption compared to the IT power consumption. So in our very old data centers, and remember, please, they are more than 20 years old now. So from 98, 99 to 2000, around about 1.6, 1.7. That's not good. However, it's very difficult to improve that PUE because these data centers are fully let. But I can tell you that the PUE of these data centers have been above 2 10 years ago. So we did a lot. All the new data centers, which is the majority of what we have on our Telehaus campus, they have a PUE of 1.35, 1.3, wow. 1.25. And this comes directly to what I've said earlier. If we have a PUE around 1.3, that means 0.3 is used by us as a data center operator, which is 25% only. But the 1 dot is a 75% used by our customers, which means if you really want to improve the energy efficiency of digitalization, yes, we as data center operators need to do more in order to be efficient, but that influences actually only 25%. But we should look much more at the 75%, which is IT hard and software. And there are several projects dealing with that. By the way, there is a report from the German environmental minister that if you look how much CO2 emissions you have with video streaming, then you can clearly see that the majority of the CO2 emissions is not within the data center. It's within the network transmission. If you use old technology like 3G mobile, or if you use copper DSL connection. So the best ratio of 1 hour video streaming, please, this is identical as you can replicate that to anything else you exchange. The better is 5G and the better is fiber cables. So it's not only the data center who's consuming so much energy.
I see. Great. So what is planned for the future in this sector?
First of all, we are working as data center operators, as colocation providers, heavily on further improving the data centers. We do believe, as an alliance for strengthening digital infrastructures in Germany, that we need to be sustainable. And it's a competitive argument as well. At the end of the day, if I'm not efficient enough, then customers will not sign contracts with me. They will go to my competitor, and the other way around. Then we, as an alliance, together with the European Data Center Association, signed an agreement with the EU Commission that all data centers in the EU will be climate neutral in 2030, which is 9 years from now on. That's a very short period, actually. And we need support from the German government, because at the moment we have roughly 50% renewable power energy in Germany. But I don't think, or I'm sure that in 2030 it will not be 100%. So we need to find solutions that we get reliable power supply to our data centers in Germany, because we are just at the beginning of digitalization. So everybody who believes that we are highly digitalized, from my point of view, is absolutely wrong. We will see a lot of new developments in the coming years.
You mentioned competition, and there is not only competition in Germany or in Europe, but also competition on a global level. What makes Europe and Germany so special, or a special market for digitization and sustainability?
Absolutely. So yes, inside Germany we do have competition, but honestly speaking, the demand is so high that I would not speak about competition, because all of us cannot build fast enough. The demand is unbelievable high, and the vacancy rate is at an all-time low. So it's easy to sell colocation space nowadays. However, in Europe, there's a strong competition because of the very high power costs in Germany. We are paying roughly as data center operators 16 cents per kilowatt hour, 16, while in Scandinavia you can get it for 4 cents. And if you know that roughly 50% of the total cost of our customers is power cost related, what a nice cat.
Yeah. It's a homework.
Yeah. I will show my dog later. So in Scandinavia, the power cost is 4%. And if you think about that, for our customers, 50% of the total cost of the total bill they pay to us is power. Then they can save 75% of these 50%, which is nearly 40% cost. These are millions for large companies, which is the reason why a lot of German companies go to Scandinavia for all the non-latency critical applications. And you've mentioned US and China. If you think about where is the data stored worldwide, globally, then you can see that more and more data is stored in the US and China and not in Europe. So that's not a specific German problem. I think we need to do more, and this is the reason, or one of the reasons, why we founded more than 3 years ago the Alliance for Strengthening Digital Infrastructures in Germany, because we want to make politicians aware of the importance, which is obviously now in the pandemic situation much, much easier.
You mentioned the prices in the Scandinavia, but how much is coming from atomic energy.
In Scandinavia, not so much, but if you're talking about nuclear power energy,
yeah.
then we can look just across the border to France.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, most of that is nuclear power. And yes, it's CO2 free, but Fukushima, exactly. So, but they claim that it's CO2 free and climate neutral. It may be climate neutral, but not sustainable from my point of view. But this is a philosophical question and discussion. And at the end of the day, we have signed this pact with the EU Commission about climate neutrality, and we need to do, we have to work harder in order to achieve that in 9 years from now.
So we don't want to go back to the nuclear energy in Germany, so we need some more ideas or projects which can make natural or natural energy more
renewable
available.
Yeah. Look, Mr. Zelker, we have a lot of wind power plants in the northern part of Germany, but we are not able to bring that down to the south where the power consumption is. Which brings me to another topic which we've discussed recently in the industry, that Germany is much too bureaucratic. Digitalization is so fast. If you think about the first iPhone came on the market in 2007, 14 years ago.
Unbelievable how quick that developed.
Tablets, iPads, smartwatches, Airbnb, Uber, and the like. And I cannot remember, for example, Zoom. I don't think Zoom was on the market before. So if you think about what happened in only 14 years, then you can imagine what we will see in the next 14 years till 2035. And all of that will not happen fast enough in Germany if we are as bureaucratic as we are.
So ECHO and the Alliance has a lot of projects and discussions up front. So for now, thank you for your time and the insights, and good luck for all the projects. And we are here. We will help as much as we can.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zelker. It was a pleasure.
For me too. Thank you.